All right, now I'm live. Wow. Kind of screwed that one up. All right, now I'm live. Wow. Kind of screwed that one up. All right, now I'm live. Wow. And apparently I'm not going to be able to do what I want to do with a few things. Good evening, Free Spirit Press. Give me a few seconds while I figure out what's going on here. Well, it's apparent that I just can't share screens from over here, so I'm just going to stop. Oh, no, I'm not. No. I'm not doing DLive. I don't have the connection for that. Not even close. I'm over on the mines. But apparently the way I scheduled this stream, I had to actually come back to YouTube and click go live on YouTube to go live. Just a few inconveniences until I figure out what streaming software I'm going to use. I'm thinking about going back to XSplit. But we'll see. Because now I actually have the computer to run XSplit. I just don't have the connection, which I'll be taking care of next week. Upgrading our internet connection, which should make a hell of a difference. I should be able to use pretty much any platform I want to stream from. It doesn't matter where I go, Free Spirit Press News. It's still all about my internet connection. We're only on a 5.1. I mean, YouTube basically, when they made their little change, they just said they screwed anybody that has crappy internet by getting rid of the Hangouts option. Because at least on the Hangout option, you didn't have to have, a 10.3 to be able to stream and do live videos and stuff. Although I do find it funny that I can sit here and game, no problems, no lag, but yet doing live streams, no, can't do it. No, if I play around with anything, I'm going to play around with Zoom a bit more. I want the live call-in option, be able to have call-ins and stuff. Now, like I said, I'm dealing now with this computer. I don't got nothing on here other than basically what it came with and what I've kind of uploaded to it thus far. I don't have none of my photos, video editing software. Pretty much we're running bare naked bones here for the time being, which I'm cool with. Still take me a little bit getting used to the new YouTube layout here. And of course, YouTube saying, warning, stream's current bit rate. But like I said, I'm going to try something new. I might switch over and do just do the live cam thing, just because it's easier. And not that I really want to show my face and how I butchered my hair today. Well, you'd think for $70 you'd got something a little bit better than what I ended up with, but oh well. I got what I asked for, I guess. But like I said, we are definitely going to try to do something different with Sons and Daughters of Liberty for a little bit. Like I said, I'm not feeling the politics. I'm not feeling the negative stuff that, those of us that do research. Yeah. Those of us that put that time in research certain topics and stuff, it does take its toll eventually. And quite frankly, I'm kind of enjoying life. And it's that time of the year. I don't want the negativity. Don't want the politics. So we're going to do something different. You know, there's various other topics I enjoy talking about just as much as those other things. And I think we can have fun with urban and folk legends, dealing with myths. You know, behind every myth, there's a little bit of truth. And you know what? I just realized I don't know where my share options are from this stupid thing. Okay, I found them. Like I said, I'm rusty. But there's all kinds of myths, legends. Mhm. I'm sure there is a few cryptic stories flying, but at this point, I really don't care. That's all they are, stories. You know, it goes back to what I've been noticing here a lot lately. Everybody's all talk, but no action. They'll say they're going to do something, like, I had plans for this weekend, but apparently everybody's just all talk, no action. So, getting a little bit tired of that part too. So, if you're going to say something, be about it. That bugs the hell out of me. Anybody that knows me, you say you're going to do something, you make plans, at least have the audacity to cancel and not leave a person hanging. It's just that day and age, it seems. But I'd much rather spend the evening here discussing whatever comes to mind, especially with this urban and folk legend thing. It's going to be different. Like I said, tonight I'm going to get into a little bit of Bigfoot, Nephilim, fallen angels, demons, and the like, because it's throughout all of our cultures. There's talk of it. There's mention of it. Different names, different titles, and it is an interesting subject. I mean, it's probably one of those most covered up subjects. And yes, I will even veer off into the alien part of it. And trust me, you're not going to hear me talk much about that because I'm not a big fan of the alien agenda. But it is interesting if we go to biblical terms with the Dead Sea Scrolls and stuff, how they talked about them coming out of the sky and the fiery chariots and stuff like that. Or we go clear back to the Towers of Babel, which I'll tie into a bunch of stuff here soon enough. There's a lot of interesting theories, but there's also a lot of history involved. You know, recently I've had the privilege of sitting down with some Native American elders discussing things that took place here in the United States before our forefathers and stuff came to this country. Their war with the giants and stuff. So it is interesting, and it's history that's not told or talked about. It seems to get covered up a lot. You know, in between every myth and legend you can find a little bit of truth. The lore of it, there's truth. Sometimes, the best place to hide something is right there in plain sight, because that's the last place you'll look. Or you'll look at it and not even know it's there. And when you start having these histories, these legends and lores that branch out through multiple cultures throughout centuries, and you start being able to piece the little things together, come up with some ideas. These are all just theories, my opinions and views, what I think. Something to make people think. That's what we need more than ever this day and age. Is we need people to start thinking, stepping outside the box, stepping outside their comfort zone, and thinking for themselves, not what somebody tells them. I'm sorry, I've been the study of history, I've been the study of religions, and when you take all that dogma out of there that you've been brainwashed with, your mind becomes far more open and you start seeing connections and seeing things differently. But you got to be able to step outside that box. Most people can't step outside that box. They can't question something that they've been taught from childhood to not question. But yet, the signs are all around you. The histories, the legends, the lores, the myths, the folklores. You know, and it brings up for some interesting conversations, if not anything but just that. What is your views and opinions on the subject matters of giants, Nephilim, Bigfoots, aliens, and I mean, the list is huge. I just want to kind of jump off big with the first one, and we'll narrow it down. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff to talk about. Clear to vampirism and vampires, legends behind that, where it can be seen in different cultures, the practice of certain things. Many interesting subjects out there. Clear down to our holidays. Let's not go poking the bear there, but there's some interesting facts and lores about our holidays. How we get these holidays. So, like I said, we're just going to spend some time talking about things that'll make you think, question. Tonight's topic, once I quit rambling, we're going to talk with the giants, the fallen angels, the Nephilim, Bigfoot. I'm going to give some of my opinions, my views, share a little bit of the knowledge that was passed to me from the elders, a few of the native tribes that I've had the privilege of sitting with and speaking with. Their stories about how they fought the giants here in the United States. And it was interesting because that's not in our history. I've talked to people that's done research in this area that's, it gets covered up way too quick. It doesn't happen. That doesn't exist. When they discover the bones, they quickly get carted off to some disclosed location and never mentioned again. Why is that? Why has nobody's ever really captured real proof of the Bigfoot? I mean, we've got DNA evidence now that says it's something. It's not human. It's not primate. It's something that has DNA markers of both, but it's not quite to where, as they put it, there's not enough DNA collected to actually classify it yet as something. That was courtesy of Josh Gates. That's put time and countless times and hours, whether it would be with Expedition Unknown or Destination Truth. He's helped lead and build up a little bit of the DNA base for Bigfoot, whether it be the Yeti or the various names for it. That's what I'm talking about. See, all these cultures has various names for the Bigfoot. It's just not here in the United States. And we find this typical with a lot of things, just like in the Middle Eastern country, the giants and stuff sometimes are referred to as, instead of referring to them as the Nephilim, they're referred to as the Jinn, which is another interesting subject that we're going to glance into and quickly probably get out of, just because it's a touchy subject with people when you start dealing with certain groups of beliefs. But I'm also going to talk about my opinions and views of the fall of the Tower of Babel, introduce different knowledges from different areas. It's like I will talk about a little bit about the Geoete, the Lesser Key of Solomon to be in particular, where the 72 demons or the fallen angels are discussed, covered, characteristics given. It's an interesting line of thought and topic because they all say each one was given basically had a skill that they taught to the people, whether it be science, math, writing, singing. And this is where I kind of formulate my little theory on the Tower of Babel, the fall of it. And it does puts the little things in perspective, but it's speculative. It's no proof. It's just maybe my opinions and my views, what I think and I see. So, I think for the most part, everybody understands what a Nephilim is and what a giant is, and what the fallen angels were. The Nephilim were the descendants of the fallen angels, for the fallen angels that procreated with man and had kids, basically, which were the giants. And, this is more biblical aspect of it. But every culture has their own aspect of it. Like I referred to Middle Eastern countries, the Jinn. Native Americans, the giants, Nephilims, clear down to the Aztecs, Incas, and Maya. They had some forms. We can go clear down to Egypt, using the Dead Sea Scrolls, talking about them coming down in fiery chariots. These are all interesting concepts because when you start thinking on them together, you start opening more doors to think and question. Because it's just not one history. It's just not one religious belief. Now you're opening the door to all of them. Now you're starting to see a pattern. I got this thing for patterns. I'm pretty good at finding them. And this has been an interesting journey, just studying this stuff. And now I like to partake in some of the things that I've learned, studied. Granted, I probably did this on another, would be more suitable for another channel, but like I said, Sons and Daughters of Liberty is about so much more. It is also about the freedom and to express yourself, be who you are, who you want to be, and talk about the things you want to talk about, just not the prepping side of things, the news, because then if I'm subjugating myself to what people think should be talked about on this channel, then I'm not expressing my constitutional rights. I'm not expressing my freedoms. I'm not expressing who I am. For the most part, I've done pretty good at keeping my channels separate. But why should I? In fact, I'm actually hindering people on this channel by doing so. The knowledge that I have in certain areas that could help you protect yourselves against psychological warfare, mind manipulation, sigils, symbols that you're bombarded with constantly. You're the ones that need that knowledge. How to protect yourself against those things. Oh, don't worry. There will become a time where urban and folk legends will get into that very area of things, just not today. Today we're going to focus on you know, are the Nephilim, were they real? I mean, most of you, I think we can all agree, we do believe in angels and demons. We believe in the fallen angels. Do they still walk today? That's an interesting subject and an interesting question. I think they do in many different forms. You know, as a species, as every species, studied science enough, every species evolves. I mean, eventually, would they not evolve as well? I mean, if they had offspring, as we know, more offspring procreates through generations. It changes. It becomes something different, something new. No, supposedly, but yet we see it. So I think we take the supposedly out of it. Look how far we evolved. In some aspects, I think we devolved too, or not so much devolved. We've just been held back from our true potentials, using our true gifts and abilities, using our minds the way they're supposed to be. I mean, we only use a fraction of our mind. Some of the greatest geniuses out there only use like 5% of their brain. All that rest is dormant, not used. Which, that might be one of those things, careful what you ask for. But there is those out there that do use more than we do. And unfortunately, like all good things, unfortunately, it never ends into the hands of the good people that would use it for good. I mean, that's just the way of the beast. And I think we can find some of that fault being brought down because of the fallen angels. I've heard many people talk about, well, they're responsible for these politicians, these corruption and stuff. I don't think so, but do they play a role? Oh, I bet they do. But unfortunately, there is here's the common belief between what separates us from everything else. We have free will. We have freedom of choice. The hierarchy things, it goes God, us, then angels. We have dominion over everything, including the angels. I mean, what sets us apart? We have free will. I could argue, some of us probably could argue the fact, well, obviously they had free will when a certain set group chose to disobey and actually fell. And that's where, the conflicts of dogma and stuff gets thrown in. I don't know. I'm not going to question those things. It's not for me to question, really. And we could sit here and argue till we're blue in the face about who's right, who's wrong, and the bottom line is that we don't know what happened, never will. Maybe until we meet our maker, and we might actually know the truth. But at some point, something happened. They fell. They came to Earth. Depending on which culture, which religion that you follow, believe, the story's a little different here and there. Most conceptual part of the story is they came, they taught man, they procreated with man, and that was the fall. Basically, they rebelled. They were cast out of heaven. From that procreation, we got the Nephilim. We got the race of the giants, which is mentioned in the Bible. It's mentioned in other religion as well. Most famous, David slew Goliath. But before then, now here's the catch, guys. Before then, there was pretty much a universal language. That's where I throw in the Tower of Babel here. I don't like being biblical much to the point on that, but there was the Tower of Babel. They wanted to create a stairway to heaven, so to speak, a Fiona's ladder, or whatever you want to call it. Where'd they get the idea of it? Where'd they get the concept of it? No one asked that question. I think we can put blame to those that fell. And if it wasn't those that fell, it would have been the Nephilim who was probably rebelling like good children do. They always rebel against their parents, right? And caused us discord. We need division. Right now it's unity. It's universal language. We all speak the same thing. We're all being taught the same thing. Could you picture it? Where there is no language barrier, no communication barrier. Granted, there was still a caste system back in those days, but we can't seem to get rid of that evil. But then again, maybe we just found the root origin of the caste system. Interesting line of thought, right? Why would you want to create a caste system? Well, simple. I want to divide people. I want to create a hierarchy. I want to make people better than others. I want to keep certain knowledge with this group and restrict this group of people from having it. See, up until that point, everybody was fairly equal for the most part. I'm sure there was some form of caste systems. I mean, seems we can't get away from it. But at some point, somebody threw the ultimate monkey wrench in the game. We need to piss this guy off so bad that he fractures it and splits us and divides us. Makes us to where we can't communicate, speak the same languages. I mean, that's the gist of the the fall of Babel, the Tower of Babel. Everybody was divided. The tongues were no longer universal. Interesting concept. You know, sometimes you got to play devil's advocate. Sometimes you got to try to put your feet in somebody's shoes, probably where they don't belong. But you got to be able to walk a mile in somebody's shoes to understand something. Now, maybe being the devious person that I could be from time to time, I know what division does. I know if I can divide, I can conquer, I can control, I can rule. The ideology of every psychopath, tyrant, whatever other colorful label you want to name a person that only has one thing in mind. But that's what you do. I mean, most ancient form of warfare is to divide and conquer. Because then you control everything we talk about. Now you can control the information, you can control what's being learned, who has the right to learn it. You know, yes, I see this happening from that day forth. And we know that somebody had to be the mastermind of it. I don't think mortals, us human beings at that point in time would have been that stupid. That was where a different power had to be at play. We always talk about end games. That's the ultimate end game, or to start an end game. Okay, you're not going to let us back in. We're just going to run amok. We're going to play with your creation. Sinister way to look at it, but it's another way to look at it. Because, I mean, whatever happened to Atlantis? I mean, the advancements of society, from all the lore and legend we have, I can honestly say I can see the hands of Nephilim and fallen angels to some of our greatest inventions throughout history, clear to our temples, the temples of the Incas, Mayas, the Egyptian temples, the pyramids. To this day, we cannot mimic how they created such things with such fine precision for what we believe they had back then. That is interesting. That means we're missing a huge portion of our history, of our knowledge. Or are we using less of our minds? Because there are stories, documented ones at that, of Tibetan monks moving boulders with the sound of music by playing the horns, deep meditations. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that most of us say, oh, that's just fiction or that's just folk legend. That's lore. There's no truth. But yet there's documentation of it. Now, goes back to what I said about tying in the lesser keys of Solomon, because that is actually dealing with the fallen angels. They, yeah, they do lie. They're masters of liar. But one thing all of them have in common, they all taught a certain subject to man. Now, the most quietly kept secret. Now, the seals and stuff aren't used to summon, and it's used to open parts of your mind to access that ability or teach language, learn a new language. It's a cheat. You're not summoning the thing. You're focusing, opening that part of your mind. Hate to burst people's bubbles on that one, but that's the real use for the keys. There's more to it than that, but let's leave it at that. You're not actually summoning the demon, which would I don't know anybody in their right mind would do that, especially a fallen angel, let alone a Nephilim, because I don't know. That's just something I wouldn't do. I don't care what knowledge it had. It's not worth it. And we're talking about something that was once an angel. Let's remember that, guys. These things were once angels, and technically still have the same abilities and powers that the angels do. So, yeah, I know. But that is interesting. What's even more interesting that we're given dominion over all of them. Hmm. Which most people forget. You know, my theory with the Bigfoots are why not? Could they be a race of Nephilim? I think it's actually quite probable. I think the concept of Bigfoot's so misunderstood. I think they're very intelligent for one. They got to be. Not to be found, seen, very seldom caught on picture, on a camera. It makes you wonder. But yet, they are giant. They are giants, a race of giants in themselves. And that's why it's hard to put disbelief in the Sasquatch or Bigfoot, because we've seen documentations of the bones of giants. You know, we know the stories of the Nephilim. I mean, we know a little bit. We don't know the whole story. As apparently, it's quite obvious we didn't, because here in the United States, most people don't know that they were quite common and randomly found. It wasn't for the Indians going to war with them and pretty much were eradicating every last one. And that goes into another aspect of things. Why the push to get rid of all the Indians? Why put them on reservation camps to the point where now there's really no such thing as a real Indian and real Native American? I mean, it's like 0.1% you can claim to be Native American now because we've almost genocide the whole all the Native Americans out to where there's no such thing as a pure Native American anymore. Why would we want to do that? Would they know that they don't want the general people, us citizens, to know? Interesting. You see, that's something we're going to learn throughout all this urban and folk legend stories and chats, is it's always about knowledge. Knowledge is power. Unfortunately, they forget the other part too. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power only through wisdom. You got to be wise to wield such power and such knowledge. And that comes through learning, experience, experimenting, understanding things, knowing what information should be shared and what shouldn't. Because there are some things that should not be shared until that person's ready for it or that group of people's ready for it. Otherwise, we just keep seeing what we see now, advancements in technology to where, hey, there's nothing private anymore. We're just letting anything and everybody into our house. You know, you don't even understand what these black mirrors you're staring into. And yes, I'm saying black mirrors because that's what they are. They're scrying mirrors and various other forms of things that come through them. But you guys don't get that because that is taboo. That is, well, you guys call it a cult, devil worship, Satanism, whatever. You guys create so many different labels for things. Truthfully, you're no better than the rest when it comes to not understanding that there's knowledge to be found that can better you. It's the intent of a person, not what you label it as. Which is interesting when you start talking about the fallen angels. Many of them firmly believe that one day they'll regain their station in heaven. Yeah, I found that one hard to believe, but that is part of the study. That is part of the history there. They believe that one day even they will be forgiven and regain their station. Interesting, but they do lie, so we always got to remember that point. But yet, how much of their hands have played and throughout history? I know people talk about secret societies. Well, they're not so secret if you're talking about it. That's what I get a chuckle out of every time. Oh, we're going to go to Bohemian Grove. They're doing this. It's a secret society. It's not so secret if you know the names of people. The ones you should worry about is the ones you don't know. Just like most people, misconceptions, there's only 32 degrees of masonry. Ha! Yeah, it goes into hundreds. And I mean hundreds, like 300 and something. But yet, we only know what people tell or what people come on here and talk about. Sometimes we take everything for granted that somebody says here, oh, they're a truth sayer, they're a truther. So what they got to be saying is true. No. Maybe in their view and opinion of things, yes. In a way, they've been brought up to believe what they're saying is true. That is truth to them. Might not be my truth. Might not be yours. See, that's why it's important to learn to question things. Everything. What is your truth? I bet your truth don't match my truth. Why? Because you haven't walked a mile in my shoes. You haven't experienced the things I have. Just like I haven't walked a mile in your shoes and experienced the things you have. But yet we all have knowledge to share between us, to learn from. What is your opinion on the Nephilim, the fallen angels, Bigfoot? Everybody's got an opinion, and we should learn to listen to those opinions and come up with our own, formulate our own. No, I should probably share this video that I keep forgetting to do. Actually, I'm scared to do because last time I tried this, I got disconnected. I guess they fixed that bug. You know, like I said, I'm not big on the alien thing, but why not? Why not we take it one step farther with the fallen angels and the Nephilim? What if that is our aliens? Technically, God's an alien if you go by the definition of ET, extraterrestrial, not from this plane of existence. I mean, we're not going to go there, but you know what I'm saying. By definition, yes. And back in those times, why not? I mean, these giants, these angels, fallen angels, they would have seemed like the gods themselves coming down in a fiery display, which is another reason why I bring up the Lesser Keys of Solomon before, because it gives a brief description of what they can look like, the personas that they'll take. They're manipulators. They use illusions, deceptions. And it goes back to where's all this knowledge come from, which I've covered already. I know most people never going to believe that, but yet language came from somewhere. Math came from somewhere. Art came from somewhere. It was taught. You know, like I said, there's so much history out there, so much legend, so much lore, so many myths, and we get stuck in our own belief system and never step outside the box to consider other people's belief systems. And many of these things, many of these little tidbits of knowledge is set in other people's culture, other people's belief systems. And if you can't open your mind and be able to explore those things without judgment, you're just going to know it's a lie. It's a deception. It's evil. It's taboo, whatever label you want to create. When the fact is, it's part of our histories. There's some truth there. Not all of it's true. Some of it's just what it is, meant to scare the little children before they go to sleep so they don't do something or they don't venture off into the woods at night. It's interesting. I am going to do one on dragons because that's kind of a subject that I've always been fascinated with. In certain, was it Saint Michael or Archangel Michael slaying the dragon? Interesting. But yet, there's really no proof of dragons ever existed. I mean, maybe a dinosaur? We could stretch it that far, I guess. But yet, the Asian culture is rich and full of these serpents. I mean, it's been pretty much already eradicated from Christendom. But go back to the Incas and Mayan, there's these flying serpents. Yes, I know, I'm getting off track. But yet, wait, am I? Angels fly. Supposedly, I guess. I don't know. They're supposed to have wings. It's a stretch. But is it? What if these dinosaurs were the concept of demons, the fallen angels? I mean, not dinosaurs, dragons, were the concept of the very notion of the fallen angels, the Nephilim. They could take different forms. You know, I think the real scary part with technology these days is the creation of AI. AI is starting to become everywhere and everything. Now, I don't know how many people know the story of the golem. It's a Jewish story. They created a clay golem, basically, to protect the Jews, which is an interesting story because essentially what we are creating when we create AI and create these advanced computers that don't seem like they're so advanced, we're creating a vessel, an empty vessel. It has no soul. Therefore, if it doesn't have a soul, it means it's a vessel that can be possessed. Something can jump into it and take control of it. Another misconception about technology. You know, most people don't get the concept that these things are scrying mirrors, but they're also gateways, doors, and portals. Just, you have to understand the terminology and how things work. Why would we ever create something like that? Why would we ever bring something like that into our own homes? Who gave these brainiacs the knowledge to do this? That's always been my question, just not to a certain community. Why would we ever allow such information to be given and used and abused to where it becomes a pure sponsor of chaos? Pandemonial chaos. That's what you're invoking when you don't have protection set up, guards and wards and all the lovely colorful other jargons. You've just got an open door into your house for anything to come in and out. And we worry about people? I'd be more worried about maybe a Nephilim coming through. And by the way, yes, they can. Been there, done that, don't want to talk about it. Well, I'll talk about it a little bit. I was introduced to this person. It's a World War II scientist. We'll leave it at that. You figure it out from that point on. Notice I said World War II, so. And this guy had this thing attached to him. Oh boy. Now I've dealt with some funky shit before. Plenty of times. Dealt with some real nasty stuff that had to be exorcised. And that's the other misconception. Catholics aren't the only ones that practice exorcism and do exorcisms. You actually be amazed to find out that almost every belief system has their own form of exorcist. Or demonologist. Let's just say that's not a subject that I like talking about because it's not ever pleasant. Especially in severe cases. Why do I bring this up? It's because it is important to understand, especially since we're talking about Nephilim, fallen angels, that addiction is part of a possession process. If you have an addiction to something, you're more easily to be possessed. And I'm sorry, 90% of people these days can't put their damn phones down. I mean, well, I spent fucking over an hour and a half at the salon getting my hair done. Yeah, don't ask. Long story. Just say, me and Crown got me in trouble. I lost a bet, so which I would have never made if I was sober. But I got to get pampered for an hour and a half. Kind of felt good actually, although I'm not. Let's just say I'm not going to go cam anytime soon until the hair dye fades. But that's something you guys need to understand. I mean, if you guys understood how easy it was for possession to happen, you probably wouldn't own half the electronics you own. In fact, you probably wouldn't be addicted to anything. You know, that coffee that you're addicted to, or me, the cigarette. Yep, those are just little things that can be used because it opens the door. It's a chink in your armor, so to speak. But back to the story at hand. I was talking to this guy. I was kind of pushing for being the good little inquisitive fuck that I am. Because this dude, well, man, this dude, the knowledge he had, oh my god. The shit, wow. He was a scientist for sure. But man, he was the hardest person to get to talk about anything. You had to word your questions just right. And I think this one day I just took it just a tad bit too far because, you know what? I'm going to cheat a bit. And I tried to cheat, and wow. The thing that came through that I had to deal with for almost an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. That thing wasn't nice. I mean, didn't wasn't there was no ill intention involved, put it that way. But wow, I've felt some powerful beings before, and I've even felt some powerful angels at work. And this, wow, I don't know. Whatever this thing was old, and it pretty much, put that Peruvial line. Hey, don't step across it. We won't have no problems. I'm like, yeah, I get it, got it. I'm gonna step way back. Anything to get you up out of this house. That's pretty much how that discussion went. And to this day, I'm pretty sure I can almost guarantee it what it was. And let's just say I don't have no desire to experience that again. Not till I have a little bit more knowledge under my belt in certain areas, because that was one powerful being. That's all I can say about it. Like I said, it didn't scare me, but I knew I was out of my pay grade, way out of my pay grade on that one. Sometimes our little thirst for knowledge, the old saying, curiosity will kill the cat. Yeah, not all knowledge is meant to be known. And that's the other misconception people got. Even I had that at a long time. I believed everything should be out there, put out there. Then, then you have experiences. Then you learn some things. Then you play with things you shouldn't have played with. And you realize, ooh, no. There's just some knowledge that should never be shared. You know what the worst part of it is? That knowledge is shared. My own experience. Except for I knew how to turn the on and off switch on and off, where they don't teach them how to do that. Greetings, Mr. A. Long time no see. You know, but I was young, didn't know any better, so I cut the cords, so to speak. And yeah, No, it didn't end well for me. And it took a very long time to repair that. And it actually took a very long time to learn how to control that, be able to turn the on switch on and off. Now, now, it shouldn't be turned off, but yet, I mean, they teach it, go down to our military how to shut that switch off, but they never teach them how to turn it back on. Effective for the job, yes, very. But when they have to come back and be reintroduced to society, they need to know how to turn the switch back on. And most people can't, you know. And that's more of knowledge and stuff that's been given out freely to people that just use and abuse things. You know, I could understand why people wouldn't want us conversing with Nephilim or the fallen angels. Quite seriously, I could understand why they'd want to keep them all to themselves because of knowledge and the most psychopathic principality of thought. This is most narcissist politician point of view. If we control this knowledge, we control power, just like information is power. If we share this information and everybody knows it, then how do we control them? And that's what it's all about. Hence my talking about the Tower of Babel. At one point in time, we had a universal language. We all spoke the same language. We were all educated the same. And lo and behold, somebody threw the monkey wrench. Let's create a tower or a stairway to heaven or Fiona's ladder, my bad. You know, mind you, I'm using different terminology here from different cultures. Fiona's ladder is more Gaelic, Germanic. Stairway to heaven, I can't remember where that came from, but the concept was a tower to heaven, which was later deemed Stairway to Heaven. Makes you seriously think about Led Zeppelin's song Stairway to Heaven, right? Just a little food for thought. You know, and it goes back to what I mentioned about all these cultures in the past, these huge societies. I mean, they're just now unearthing using lidar. I mean, how huge this. It was a mega metropolis in Central America. I mean, roads that were leading into center of town, this metropolis that were 100 feet long or wide. They never thought that the Incas, Mayans, and that era, were so huge, so what we consider technologically advanced, engineering advanced. But yet, we're just now uncovering this. And the worst part is, I agree with certain people when we talk about these things. How much of that's actually going to be really revealed, and how much of it's going to be hidden away from public. Oh, we can't show them this. We can't let them find out this. I mean, to this day, we don't understand how Rome built what they built. The aqua filters, the aqueducts, the sewer system, the water systems that they made. They were well beyond even their time. Uh-huh. It's interesting, isn't it? The lyrics to that song. And it's like I said, I've thrown around the theories of the Tower of Babel, the Nephilim, and the fallen angels for a while. You know, and it is interesting because, like I said, the more you study, the more you step outside your box, the more you start learning, the more you start finding those little breadcrumbs, the pieces of the puzzle. Some of it was found in Christianity, some of it was found in Old Gaelic and Germanic. Then another portion of it was found right here in the U.S. through studying with some elder Native Americans. You know, that's a story onto itself that I would love to talk about one day, and I will when I feel the time's right. Because they covered so much history in that setting. So much was discussed. Does anybody remember laughter? Good question. Beginning to wonder that. Well, I could probably turn my cam on and you guys get a good laugh at how what happened. Yeah, I think I'm gonna chill on the crown for a while, or at least I do. Don't make no stupid bets. Oh, I'm sure he does. I enjoy listening to some of Mr. A's conversations when I've gotten the chance because these are conversations that, hey, they're fun to talk about. For me, it beats the alternative. I mean, I can't do politics right now. I just can't. Yeah, we do skirt that talking about some of these because it's some of these very politicians, world leaders, tyrants and stuff that are guilty of hiding this knowledge, this information, covering it up. I firmly believe that. Firmly agree with many people on that. Well, I know, and the roundabout area where Mr. A's from, and that there's some locations out there that even the Native Americans talked about, where there were some major centers where the Nephilim and they called them giants. They had another name for it, but I can't pronounce it in the native language they used. I'm not even going to try. But to understand all these locations they talked about, and it is interesting to note that many of these locations are considered protected, whether national forests, national parks. But they even talk about how these giants, as they referred to them, passed down knowledge, taught them skills, taught them language, which once that helped me really draw that connection, to my teachings and stuff I learned about the Lesser Keys of Solomon, how each one of them had a specific thing they taught man: language, art, math, music. And most people don't even understand the power of music, to understand the power, the vibration a musical note or a pitch causes. It's another reason why I don't like going to rallies, because I understand those things. I understand that how it takes a few people that understand it that can turn a peaceful crowd into the mob just by a chant. Getting people to chant, they create that vibration, that frequency that starts reverberating off each other to where it cascades and becomes like a wildfire that's out of control. You know, these things were taught to people. You know, some people call it esoteric knowledge. It's not so esoteric when it's being just handed out. We just change the label and call it something different. That's where I started realizing, you have to step outside the box. I can't just be one-sided and view this topic from this perspective, because then I can't see the other perspectives. I can't see through the illusions, the deceit, the lies, the fable, the myths, the folk legends, the urban legends of it. Because if it's a legend, therefore it's not true. There might be some truth, but it's no truth. When you start shredding those illusions, those veils, start being able to see things, you'll start seeing a pattern. You'll start seeing things scattered across the world from various cultures to various belief systems. I still can't pronounce it. And that's okay. There's also other things involved with why I can't pronounce certain things, because I choose not to. Because you never know, when you pronounce something, you might hit the right frequency or right pitch. Yeah, no. Some things aren't meant to be spoken out loud. Like I said, I'm very careful after my personal experience when it comes to dealing with that stuff. Last thing I want is another encounter. I figured I pushed my luck the first time. That's why I said, the Bigfoot idea things. You know, it's always been up for debate. There's been hoaxes. There's all kinds of hoaxes on that one. But yet, we're talking about, and my common understanding, we're talking about a race or something, a giant. I mean, we're talking creatures that are at least 8 foot or taller. In my personal opinion, that's a giant. In my eyes, I mean, it's way taller than I am. I'm 6'1". I've been around people that are 6'5", 7 foot playing sports over the years, and yeah, they're tall, but they're tall. They're not giant. I mean, 6'6", I can still kick over their head. So just saying, we're getting up to that 8 foot range. That's like, yeah, I need a step ladder. Yeah, that's kind of tall. But yeah, I mean, there's no other than a few DNA samples that's been archived and documented, which you'd think there'd be more of that, but there's not. But then again, not everybody has Josh Gates type of money either, so. But he did put more credibility into it than most of these people out there that research this stuff, that claim to be Sasquatchers and stuff. He's actually gotten DNA samples that's been put in the database to where, he was just flat out told, there's not enough. Yeah, that's what I said. I wish if I had that, oh my God. I probably wouldn't be living long if I had that. And that wouldn't be my own doing. You know, he has that. I have other means and ways of getting knowledge and information. No, money can't buy you everything, but it can take you to some interesting places. Some of the places I don't think I'd want to go to. But then again, well, Free Spirit Press, you know my little story of my neck of the woods, so I think that's on a few people's bucket list. They want to go explore. Almost did it this Halloween. I had a group of people that was ready to go. I just didn't have the equipment. I do now. So that might happen soon. I did invest in quite a little bit of equipment for that. And got a couple people that's really interested. Now that is interesting, Mr. A, because that's another very strong opinion amongst the esoteric community when it comes to dealing with the Nephilim, the Bigfoots, and various other things. Actually, I know a few psychic mediums that talk about this, that the dimensional doorways, which I find hard that most people can't believe in that or grasp that, because we believe in a heaven, we believe in a hell. That is a dimensional plane. It's not this plane here on Earth. So why not dimensional doorways? And yeah, I don't want to talk about dimensional doorways right now either. Speaking of that place, that's in my neck of the woods. It's exactly what that place is. An interesting name for it too, Prisonwood. That's like I said, I've had my experience with the alien thing, but I'm not a believer in it. I'm more of a believer that what if it's the angels, the fallen angels, the Nephilim, even Bigfoot? Because I mean, come on, it's got to be somewhere. It, I mean, don't get me wrong. I've been to places. I mean, there's places in the Appalachian Mountains that have yet to be explored. So we need to get that misconception out of our minds, because every day there's like 5 or 6 new species being found every day. So to think we've documented everything on this earth, not even close. When we're still finding new species, 5 to 6 new species every day. I mean, there's still places that just, I mean, I've seen stuff in the Appalachian Mountains that's like, what the hell is that? They're like, my dude's like, Rob's like, man, they're finding stuff out here, new species every day that haven't been ever documented. I mean, I've seen some crazy spiders out there. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm cool. Insects that, like, what the hell is that? Of course, you never have a camera on you when you see one, and that's the weird thing. I think that would be a very good, fun time there, Free Spirit Press. just like me, the people's perspectives. I'd love to hear her perspectives on some of this stuff because some of the stuff that she's talked about, it's like, oh my God, I just want to pick her mind. You know, most people, this is kind of new for them hearing me talk about stuff like this. It's not new, guys. I just keep this stuff on another channel most of the time. But I don't feel like doing anything on that channel right now. Haven't for a while. And why not? I mean, we're getting a little bit of American history here as well. A history that's been well covered up. I mean, it's never made me question until I sit down and talk to those Native American elders the reason why they were huddled up, put on reservations, to the point of now. Yes, she is. The Egyptian side of things is very interesting. And the similarities between the Egyptians and the Incas, Mayas, and Aztecs, to where now, I mean, the knowledge that we thought we knew about that's being even rewritten. It's far older than what they first realized. I mean, they never realized how advanced they became. I mean, it's just like now, they're just now uncovering a whole metropolis. I mean, a mega metropolis. I mean, the whole of Central America is basically a city, was a city. I mean, wow, amazing. Where'd they get that knowledge? And it's always been the interesting part about this group here in the Americas to the Middle East and Egypt. But we can go clear to Rome. Where did they get the knowledge to build these things? Why isn't that knowledge still found? Now, let's talk about the city of Atlantis for a moment. Let's just theorize here. What if the city of Atlantis was nothing more? Well, I mean, it was a city. Well, what if the people that lived there wasn't the everyday people we think lived there? What if we think on the lines of the Nephilim, the lines of the fallen angel? I want to say Nephilim more than fallen angels here. But let's say, because they consider and some cultures, especially over the European cultures and stuff, they consider the Atlanteans a complete different. Even the Egyptian side of things, the Egyptians have talked about the Atlanteans. You know, the word magi is said to come from the Atlanteans. It was the Atlanteans that taught much of what was known for medicine, building, architecture, art. What if the Atlanteans were nothing more than the Nephilim? I'm going to say go as far as saying, what about the Egyptian deities pantheon? Nephilim or fallen angels? It could be both in that aspect of things. That's where the Dead Sea Scrolls kind of illuminated some things. Oh, yeah. I've seen documentation on that, Mr. A, and that is very interesting. That's interesting enough it's had me maybe want to take a vacation sometime in the near future just to go exploring. Although the Rocky Mountains doesn't really, not my kind of scenery, but I prefer, trees, green, lush, like the Appalachian Mountains. But that's enough right there to get me to want to go. Because I also have that uncanny knack of finding things that most people can't. I actually consider that more of a curse than a blessing, though. So I found some interesting things that I probably wish I'd never found. But these are the fun things to talk about. And quite frankly, I'm tired of the hypocrisy that everybody else is talking about. That's what it is. We're just repeating the same thing that we think is going to happen. It might happen. You know what? I don't care anymore. It's become too negative. Time to change the narrative. It's time to make people start questioning and thinking for themselves. How much of what I've talked about tonight can we base on fact? Well, very little, honestly. Most of it's speculation, my theories, my opinions, some of the little things that I've stepped into, found along the way, had privilege of talking to a few people, learning their history and their cultures, following the breadcrumbs where they may lead, and coming up with my own theories and opinions on the matter, making me question more things. And the more you question, the more you see through things. That's why I think these topics will be fun as we go further into them. But everyone wants to talk about the giants, the Nephilim, because it is interesting. It's the one thing that they try their damnedest to cover up in every society, every culture. Egyptians are very guilty for it. Oh, it's a rabbit hole for sure. You know, some rabbit holes are fun to go down. And some are just meant to be deceptive little things that keep you trapped. But from time to time, you need to break away from things. And sometimes going down a rabbit hole or two is just the perfect thing to clear the mind and make you question and think of things. You know, I have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge in various things, from religions to science to math to computers to technology, obviously to American history, you know, being a descendant from one of the founding fathers. So, yes, that's a part of me, but, you know, there's so much more that it's a part of me that I enjoy talking about that I don't really get to when I focus on other things or put my focus just completely on this. And that's something that is going to be one of the changes with Sons and Daughters of Liberty. I'm done separating channels. I'm done avoiding certain subjects that I have intimate knowledge of because it might scare away people. I don't know why I cared about that. Never cared about it in the past. You know, it's just I wanted to keep things separate, and it's not working. Well, Free Spirit Press. There's another interesting story that a mutual acquaintance of ours. I'm not going to say friend, but all of ours that I think is listening right now. Casey, Enter the Stars. He talked about us. One of his podcasts. I think it was dealing when he was dealing with the Orville stuff. He found a connection that was interesting, and I did go down that rabbit hole. He found a connection to, I think it was Cleopatra. It was the Solomon Mines, if I'm correct. Since that's a keyword, Solomon. That's another interesting figure, which is kind of interesting because they actually did not want to put any mention of Solomon in the Bible. The Song of Solomon, they did not want in the Bible. But, okay, it's getting off topic. Kinda. Not really. It's a connection here. But they say that the Solomon Mines was here in the United States. around the Orville area. I mean, he linked names. It's interesting. And the more I followed up on with him, the more I agree with him. You know, see, guys, that's what being open-minded is about. Most people, when, oh, you're listening to a Christian? Well, yeah. Maybe you guys missed my little background info. I don't claim to be a Christian, but I was born born again, saved in a Southern Baptist church. So, oh, I will. I like anything mythology, so, and I recognize the name from somewhere. I just got jogged my memory yet. But I was also had a little Catholic bringing up when I was in Brazil because I had to go to a Catholic school. And like I said, you name the Christian domination, I probably went to attended the church and was probably a member of it. And that I quickly learned the same thing I learned and quickly heard the same thing I was hearing in the Southern Baptist church to the point where it made me question everything. So no, I don't like the word religion. Not going to label myself something I'm not. And it has nothing to do with religion. It has to do with the dogma. You know, I sat there and listened to a Baptist preacher preach fire and brimstone, bash the Catholics, bash the homosexuals, but that goes completely against what the New Testament was about. When questioned him about that, yeah, no. Eventually excommunicated, but hey, I had that coming anyway. For other things I was doing. But they all do the same thing. You know, just like I've actually written an academic paper. Huh, something most people don't know. But I wrote one on the origins of the word heathen, heretic, and pagan, where they derived from, what they were used from. And it was actually derived and first used by the Catholic Church. Basically, it means common folk, the free folk, free thinkers. That's what those words mean. If you were deemed such a thing, that means you were a person that they couldn't control. You were a free thinker. You'd question the concepts of what their dogma and edicts were about. You know, people talk about ceremonial magic, ritual magic. Well, if you know anything about ceremonial magic and ritual magic, then you'll know what the Mass is, what the Catholic priests do. It is a ritual, not much different from, if you understand what the Book of Psalms is. Very interesting. David actually explains it a little bit. Solomon went a little bit farther in explaining it. Now, you get rid of the dogma, man, there's beautiful things to be learned throughout all these religious textbooks. It's the dogma that's wrong. It's the dogma that's used to control you guys, keep you from thinking and understanding that. And that goes clear back to what I first started with, the Tower of Babel. Why would we want such division? Yes, I'm very familiar with that one. And you know, here's another theory of mine while we're on that subject. Because, you know, I talked about we had a universal language. History does seem to repeat itself. One of my favorite chapters, favorite verses in the Bible is Ecclesiastes 1:9 or 1:10. 1:10 is, you know, where it talks about nothing new under the sun. It's talking about history repeating itself. We are once more getting close to that point where we have a universal language. I've discussed this with many religious scholars that actually agree. We've gotten to that point where once again we've come full circle to where we almost have a universal language. We've always had one universal language: math and numbers. Not changed, never changed. It's been the one thing that we can all understand. We find it throughout our technology. Coding is nothing but numerics. Language is actually nothing but numerics when understood in frequency and vibration. We give it a number based on its frequency and vibration. Now, people that try to do numerology, they never do it right because they never keep reducing it till it can't be reduced no more. They don't understand that each form of it, each number, whatever you get, has a meaning, has its own frequency and vibration. It has a purpose. It has a use. You know, people talk about the 666. Okay, let's see here. 6 and 6 is 12, 6 is 18, 9. The automatic line, yep. Ha. We're not going there. Something popped into my head, and I like how that is written. Atom. Which few people has broke down that use of language in every culture. It comes, okay. It comes down to atom, atom, in the Egyptian language, and it goes. It's interesting, but that's a little not this topic. You know, just like there's a book I read a long time ago, which was interesting. Jesus, Last of the Pharaohs. Interesting because it was just interesting, but they also got into a little bit of the giants, Moses being Egyptian, actually using his Egyptian name. Not really. I'm actually on a new system, so I'm still working the bugs out of it. Mainly is trying to figure out how to hook things up. And plus, I'm trying to find a new streaming software to use. So right now, I'm just working out of the mines, and I do have a slight cold. Yeah, the audio system is different from the other computer, so I'm slowly working the bugs out of it and figuring out how to use things. I've only owned the computer for a week. Actually, it hasn't even been set up for a week. And we all know how crazy my work schedule's been, so which is kind of the reason why I haven't done no podcasts in a while. It's not so much it's crazy anymore, it's just getting used to a schedule. I work from 12:30 to 8:30, so it's kind of hard to get a routine schedule down. Plus, it's like my fourth week off overtime, so I was working from, I think it was August to the mid of October on mandatory overtime. So it was like I'm just now starting to get somewhat of a normal schedule going. That's not the only reason why I've been silent for a while either. So, mm-hmm. Yep, had a few of those days. Well, last Friday, actually, it was Saturday when I woke up. I got off, came straight home from work, and went to bed. And yeah, next thing I know, it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, Saturday. Friday, what was that? But last week was a very long week. It was just like this week, Thanksgiving. Oh, just by the way, I hope everybody did have a happy Thanksgiving. I actually got some days off, and it's like I don't know what to do with myself. Besides catch up on some sleep and try not to screw up what little schedule I have. But I wanted to do a podcast. I wanted to do a podcast yesterday, but I didn't have nothing to talk about. Yeah, norm. What is normal? Normal is what it is. Today is normal. Tomorrow might be abnormal. Normal is just a state of mind. Quite frankly, who wants to be normal all the time? Normal is boring. But it is, like I said, it is interesting on these topics because there's so much there. I mean, there's so much you could add into it. Question. Like I said, I listen to various people from all walks of life, different backgrounds. That is true. I don't think anybody would consider me normal. I'm quite sure some people are probably not happy that I've found my way back to YouTube. But hey, I can only be silent for so long. Eventually, the silence becomes worse than the chaos. I mean, quite obviously, we're not normal because look what we're talking about tonight. We're talking about things that most people far from their mind, which is good because it might be just the distraction they need. Especially this time of year, we need distractions. I mean, I mean, I had no intentions of going out today. Yeah, yeah, Crown Royal and making bets that I don't remember dictated otherwise. So, but I wasn't going. Luckily, I wasn't having to deal with the chaos. And quite frankly, I mean, not Good Friday. Wow, Black Friday. Funny, we got Good Friday and Black Friday. Something to think about later. See, another little fun thing that happens when you're talking about Off the wall subjects, things pop up. We have Good Friday, we have Black Friday. What the hell? What's so significant about those two, other than they're polar opposites? Hmm? But who wants to deal with the chaos? I don't really see what. I think some people will get a thrill out of it. I'm, I'm cool. I can't stand crowded places. People bumping into you. Long lines. Hell no. Of course, then again, I still managed to spend an hour and a half in a salon. I think that's the most I've sat in months. But it kind of felt good to be pampered a bit, so guess it wasn't all bad. Although I think I thought of better things to do today, but what is your guys' take on the Nephilim, the fallen angels, Bigfoot? Seriously, it is interesting. You know, it is even more interesting when you see some of the things that they've done to hide the facts. How they went out of their way to make bones mysteriously disappear. I mean, like I said, Mr. A brought up a good point with me, the people's perspective in Egypt. You know, a lot of the archaeological finds and stuff never get public. And what is public is not even a fraction of what they really found. It's so protected. So, what's the word I'm looking for? Well, it's controlled. Controlling the information, controlling what they want the public to see. Yes, yes, and no. I look at the no part like this. I'm never gonna see one because I figure they have some high intelligence and they know, hey, he'll shoot my ass and put me on display. So yeah, I'm never gonna see one. I do believe the Nephilim are real. The fallen angels I know are real. Yeah, I'm the same way, but when that's why I kind of put them in this category. What if they are nothing more than an ancestry of the Nephilim? Now I can put a little bit more credibility into that story. And it's truthfully, I've never heard anybody pitch it that way either. You know, I'd say it's an ancestor, not per se Nephilim, but an ancestor of the Nephilim, which would make sense because they would have traits and characteristics of the Nephilim, of the fallen angels. They would have those abilities that they had. And in that light and perspective, I could understand why there is no tangible proof. I mean, how many of these giant bones we found were they Bigfoot? We just went over no, because most of the bones that have been found have been rushed and hid and lost. I mean, seriously, how do you lose the bones of a giant on a U.S. military cargo plane while it's in flight? That's right, you don't. But somehow from point A to point B, the bones disappeared while mid-flight. Yeah, I don't buy that story. And I will do, on one of these urban and folk legends, I will talk about dimensions and stuff like that, because that is another interesting thing. More so interesting when you start adding other aspects to it. And we'll probably get into a little bit of Jack Parsons in that video, along with what they call, I probably shouldn't. Every time I say it, I get in trouble. But the black magician himself, Ronald Hubbard. Yes, and I agree there. They should, but something new to look into on your research there, Mr. A. Especially, I know you're in an area where you could actually probably talk to some Native American elders. I just got plugged into my pillow. They have some interesting stories regarding that. Especially in your area, I do believe you're around some areas that also they talk about the skinwalkers. Yeah, I know where you're coming from on that one. My Blackfoot was very sketchy. I mean, I had a good translator with me though, but it's still. And that's the other thing. That's something I do want people to understand. Talking about language, and once more, sometimes there's just not a translation be used in the English word for another language, which makes it hard to sometimes translate something to understand it, because there's just not a word for it yet. Which is weird, because as much as we create words, yeah, I mean, we all know about the what were they called during the Korean War? Wind talkers, I believe. I think it was the wind talkers. That's what they called them. Their language and code still hasn't been broken to this day. Code talkers, yes. Which in a sense was ingenious, but it goes back to that knowledge. How long did our government or military have that knowledge? Even more reason why, it goes back. Why? I mean, what did the Native Americans know that our ancestors feared them so much? What didn't they want everyone else to know? I mean, there's plenty of history to say why things happened. But there's also plenty of history that says how peaceful many of them were. There's always something been the aspect of our history that's bothered me there when it comes to dealing with the Native Americans. And I think it falls onto that aspect of there was knowledge there that they didn't want everyone to know. Now, it's interesting research material there. You know, the Code Talkers was very interesting. I mean, truthfully, if it wasn't for them, we probably wouldn't have done so well in that war. The origins, everything has an origin. It's finding the origin points of things. Words have origins. When were they first used? What was their root origins? What is the root origin? That's my problem with so much stuff. Everything gets changed. We live in a day and age where everything's abbreviated, which is very dangerous. I mean, people don't know what they're playing with. Really, you don't. I hear people talk about, oh, their sigils, symbols. Well, that's what you're creating when you abbreviate a word. I mean, that's as ancient as runics and runes. The symbols they'd create out of a rune was abbreviating it, taking all the vowels out, this and that. And I've pointed something out on this stream. The word MAGA. Wow. And everybody. I mean, wow. The genius behind that sigil. Because that's exactly what it is. The power that it has. People just don't understand. And that was some of my issues. I've talked about it in my other channel. Debated it with people that had the same knowledge. It's like, why? The advancement in technology, the advancement in cell phones, to the point we're starting to use magical formulas to text. We're abbreviating words and creating something. History repeating itself. We're finding our way slowly back. Yes. A language in itself. Pictographs and petrographs. But yet we call them memes now. Very much the same thing. Hieroglyphics. All sigils. A language hidden within itself. A lost art, some would say, which I can't even call it a lost art if you look at some of the memes that are created today. Some of the, well, like I said, MAGA. Make America great again. Mm. Magi much? No, sorry, yeah, I probably don't want to go there. But it was a reporter I know brought up something. I almost did a Halloween podcast on this very topic, talking about symbols, psychological effect of commercials and TV and stuff. Because I almost made the comment, no, what's really scary is that you're bombarded with it every day. Everybody talks about Disney. Disney was, he was a perfectionist at implementing subliminal stuff into his stuff. Halloween has a very interesting origins. But almost all of our holidays do. mean, we're coming up onto one of probably the most famous one that has some interesting history. Christmas. If you start tracing its origins, it gets interesting. You know, but those are things that people should do. You should question things. Understand why. I mean, to me, Christmas is nothing more celebrating time with family and friends. Yeah, the most bastardized one at that. I agree. No, no, no. Well, yeah, bastardized is the correct word. Everything's become commercialized. I actually talked about this a long time ago. It's all about money. It's all about getting you to spend, spend, spend. I mean, Black Friday, it's all about spending. It's all about chaos, really. My personal opinion. I mean, so many people get more stressed out. I mean, we have really gone far away from the family getting together for Christmas dinner, celebrating Christmas. It's all about the giving of gifts, having to get a gift instead of spending time with friends and family, socializing. The spirit of Christmas was about singing, praising, being with people. The best gift you could give was celebrating with each other. It wasn't about the presents. It was about the fellowship, the socializing. That's the part that bothers me the most this day and age. They're trying to get away from people socializing in person. They much rather now here. You don't have to go to the store. You can avoid the chaos. You can have it shipped here, or you can just buy it from your house. Just come pick it up, and you don't have to spend time in the store. Or it can be just delivered straight to your house. I mean, fast food now can be delivered right straight to your house. I mean, we're getting so far to the point with smart technology and all the smart stuff. We can deliver your package, put it inside your house. We'll be able to lock your door. You know, we've come a long ways. Not all technology is good technology. We're getting to the point where there's no such thing as privacy. There's no such thing as, and you shouldn't really be sharing that, giving out that information. Now you need to, you have to. You need to let everybody know where you're at, what you're buying. You forgot the sense of idealism or individualism. You've forgotten how to think for yourselves. We become so much uniformized. We become, in a sense, it goes back to what I was talking about, a universal language once more. A one-mindedness, a collective. You can't be an individual. You can't have individual thoughts, your own creative thoughts, your own identity. And that's what a lot of the BS propaganda, psychological warfare has been going on for a while now, but being really crammed down our throats till we become numb to it. I've talked about this before. And we have become numb to certain things. We've become numb to words that we shouldn't be numb to. I just had a conversation, I think it was at work. I can't remember where it was. It was a conversation about the one thing I don't want to talk about. But yet, I find it sickening. But yet the push for all this, I don't want to go there. There's just some things should not be cool with. Nobody should be cool with. Everybody should be in an uproar about what they're not. I mean, I remember going through orientation. I mean, basically, what can you say? Wait, you can't say nothing because it could be somebody could take offense to it. I mean, really? That's the kind of society we're living in now? I can't say this because it's going to offend this person because they believe they're this, which is something that's, well, I think most people would call it a fetish, a cosplay, role play. I'm sorry, no. And one, how old are you? But yet it's being taught in our school systems. I mean, but it's that stripping away of our self, our individuality, our ability to question. We've seen it happen throughout history. Like I said, the origins of the words heathen, heretic, and pagan was meant to divide, strip away the freethinkers because they were a threat to the church, the Catholic Church in this particular case, the common folk. Why? Because you'd question. And that's what we need to be doing. We need to be questioning. We need to be thinkers, not followers. Because all we end up doing is becoming the blind, following the blind. We start becoming numb to things. Hence why something new, something different, something to stimulate the mind to make you think, make you question. In a sense, a step out of reality. Because what we're living in should not be reality. In reality, some of the things that are happening now are crimes. And they should be put in jail for sexual offenses and be labeled as a sex offender. But no, that's the norm. They're allowed to be taught that in school now. Yeah, no. Glad I don't have kids. Because I'd probably be in prison. But that's the crap we're bombarded with every day. Yeah, I'm getting ready to wrap this up. I still haven't learned the art of doing a short stream. I definitely will, Mr. A. You'll definitely be on my mind on that one. I'll definitely keep you in my thoughts and prayers. Yeah, I have a friend right now that's in the hospital. They don't know what's wrong with him. He checked in Wednesday, so I'm gonna make a trip to see him tomorrow. So really, I've not been in the holiday spirit, but then again, when am I? I will definitely catch you later, Mr. A. I'm pretty sure Free Spirit Press is done checked out. She might be subconsciously listening, but yeah, if she found that pillow. Yeah, people think she checked out too. And I can see I'm well over 2 hours. So, you know, let me know what you guys think. Go ahead. I don't normally say this, but feel free to leave your comments below. I'll get to them as I get time. No, I'm going to do more topics like this, just off the wall stuff. Delving into urban legends, folklores, myths, mythologies. Point out things that can be found in other. We talk about things like. I mean, honestly, there's better people has talked about Nephilim, fallen angels, gotten well into depth, and I've kind of been in up and down. Yeah, more like a rambling the cake mind, but then again, my mind's chaotic. Anybody knows me knows that. It just, it's meant to make you think, which is pretty much what I've always done. I want you to think. I want you to question everything. Question everything I say. What are your thoughts? We all have our thoughts. I mean, like I said, I mentioned the alien. Didn't really go too far into it because I'm not a big believer of aliens. And I've had an encounter that I cannot explain what it was other than it was something. Triangle, right? Everybody stopped. Everybody got out the car and looked at it, so I wasn't the only one. And I was dead sober because I just got off work. To this day, I cannot explain what I saw. But I don't believe in that theory of extraterrestrial life. But I do believe in the theory it could be angels, Nephilim, fallen angels. But I'm also not going to completely rule out the fact there's no such thing as aliens either. It's just not a subject that's ever interested me. That does trip people up. People that know my background know that I've got plenty of paranormal experience, esoteric knowledge and experience, that I don't believe in that. I believe in the dimensional thing, which is kind of interesting in itself. But I don't know. I guess at some point you got to draw the line somewhere. Like Bigfoot. I kind of do agree with Mr. A on that aspect. I mean, I need a lot more proof than what's been out there. But I can't rule out it doesn't exist. Well, for many reasons. One, every day 5 to 6 new species of life is being found on this earth that never been documented. And there's a little bit more tangible evidence of Bigfoot existence with DNA, thanks to Josh Gates. So, hey, it's a realm of possibilities and probabilities. And it's always interesting to question those things. Me, I could see more of a connection to the fallen angels and Nephilims, being an ancestor of a Nephilim, the giants. That I could see. And it would explain a lot more of not being able to ever really catch one, have one. But then again, have we? See, that's the problem. Stuff like that they don't want known, doesn't get publicized. It gets hidden, buried in some Smithsonian exhibit, buried in their archives, or disappeared. Or no, you can't report on that because we all know how the news works. They're told what they can and can't report. That's why most 90% of Americans, most people in the world actually, don't trust the media. They brought it upon themselves. So, you know, to each their own on that one. That's why we've seen the rise of people on YouTube. We've seen the censorship. being cracked down so hard. People that are actually out there reporting real news, being truthful, letting you decide, being honest with their opinions, not hiding or not answering to somebody. No, you can't report that, you can't show that. We need more of that. No, I'd actually like to see real reporters actually do the right thing. Are we going to see that? No, because nobody wants to lose their job. But I'm not going to sit there and debate and argue with you either, or make a big deal out of something when something gets taken out of context because your feelings got hurt, or you're afraid with one of your fellow anchors might see that post. Yeah, that one still burns me a little bit. It also, yeah, and the times like that makes you question, why do certain people follow you? Really, why? I mean, I've been up front almost every podcast I've ever done. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. In fact, I was up front when I was working with Pirate Radio Podcast. I'm not everyone's cup of tea. I have my own opinions, my own views. I'm not a follower. I say what I think, right or wrong. And then I tell you flat out, question everything. Because that's important. It teaches you to have a mind of your own and the ability to think for yourself. Don't let me do the thinking for you. Because most of my life, I don't walk the straight and narrow path. I find the forks, crooks, bends, curves. I take the long way to get to a simple destination. I'm the last person you want to be following. Full of wisdom, only because I took the hard way. Had to learn my lessons the hard way. Full of knowledge, but I paid a price to get some of that. I'd like to think now that I've gotten older, about to be older even sooner, that I've kind of shied away from taking the long way around things, but yeah, every now and then I find myself on that path, so nah, probably not the best person to follow. Nor would I want you to. I want you to be your own individual. I want you to think for yourself. And that's why we're going to do more videos like this. Because it stimulates the mind, it makes you question things, or it makes you get you pissed off at me and makes you unsubscribe or unfollow. It doesn't really matter to me. And then don't do this channel for the numbers. Don't do anything for the numbers. It's not what it's about. And unfortunately, that's the other thing they've tried to teach everybody. It's all about the numbers. You need all these people to follow you. You need all these people on Facebook to be your friends. You need to be friends with everybody. No, I do not. I don't need other people's negativity influencing my life. I don't need a person that I'll never meet. It's frequencies and vibrations affecting the things I do. Sadly, people don't understand that. They're caught up in, we got to have all these followers, all these subscribers. If I follow you, it's because what you're talking about is interesting. It makes me think, it makes me question things. So that's why I follow people. And that's why I also unfollow people. Okay, nah, you're not what I'm. Don't need that in my life right now. But you can't do that if you can't think for yourself. You're just still following everybody else. You're following what you've been programmed and taught to do. So you can break those cycles. You'll never really truly be free. Most people today spent a day of chaos in overpacked shopping places. Why? Because they have to. Some people, it's become an adrenaline high. They're addicted to the adrenaline rush of going out, dealing with these crowds, pushing, trying to be the first one to get this. You know when the best deals are, guys? On all this stuff that you're trying to buy right now after Christmas? But you've been programmed that you have to have it now. When the best deals happen always after Christmas and actually into January when they're trying to get rid of all that overstock they have. Best deals ever. Hmm. But it's much like the new iPhones. As soon as every year the new one comes out, everybody has to have it. They got to get rid of their old one. You become addicted to the cycle. And that addiction is dangerous. As I stated earlier, you got to break the cycles. Just break the what everybody thinks is the norm. Because if you don't, you're giving away your individuality. You're giving away who you are. And you're giving away the ability to think for yourself. Things to think about. But like I said, I hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. For those that be traveling, please be safe. You know, try to avoid the drama and the stress of the holidays. You know, some of that is quite easy. Turn off your TVs. Step away from the social media platforms. Be amazed how much stress that you release and be relieved of just by doing that. I know, I do it frequently now. Less stressful. Yes, it does mean I'm not up to date on current affairs, which is good. Because it's the same old shit, just a different day. Really, it has been for the last 2 years. It's the same old shit, just a different day. We try to spin it with a new label or a new title or trying to bring old news to make it new news. And keep that crap. Don't need it, especially this time of year. What I need is what I'm doing now, enjoying life and being happy. And that's a good thing. And that's the perfect note to end this stream on. Guys, don't know when I'll do the next one. Like I said, I'm working and enjoy what I'm doing. And I just can't figure out a schedule yet. And quite frankly, I don't want to be doing this every day anymore. You know, once or twice a month, I might just be happy with that for a while. There's so much other things to enjoy. And quite frankly, there's plenty of other people out there talking about the same old stuff. And that's good because they're on top of their game. So, I mean, met a few in my chat today. Free Spirit Press News, Mr. Anderson, or Mr. A. Be the People's Perspective when she's on. Be Rich and After Hours, Dabu. Enter the Stars, Casey. I mean, the list goes on and on. But these are just some of the people that I enjoy listening to. You know, Daily Mojo. Doc Thompson shows, Daily Mojo show. Love listening to them in the morning. You know, it's just find those that, you know, aren't going to lie to you, that are going to be truthful, that are going to find a way to uplift things or make you think and question things. I mean, there's so many people I can name, it's not even funny. Just in this little group there that's hang out with each other there. I don't personally hang out with but a few of them, but they're all good people. They all put out great content. There's not most of it's not doom and gloom, which is awesome. Pirate Radio Podcast, another. I mean, I'm not associated with them anymore, but they put out great content. Thankful for everything I got to experience with them. Learned a few things. Yeah, I learned a little bit of this, a little bit of everything from everybody, and that is important. The ability to step outside that box and learn from others. And that should be everybody's objective. We're learning something new, something different, something that's positive each and every day that has a huge impact and influence in our life that is positive. I hope you guys enjoy your holidays in case I'm not back on. Okay, like I said, don't know my schedule. Schedule's ever changing right now. And I'm enjoying the break from doing podcasts every day, every night, or however it was. And you guys just be safe. Until we speak again the next time, enjoy yourselves. Have fun. And I will see you next time.